Hello, this is a short video on behalf of the Small Farms Network Capital Region on how to install soft jaw or padded jaw foot traps for the control of medium-sized feral predators. This is a photo of my trapping kit. So most importantly, I've got wax right up the top to treat the traps when they come brand new so they don't rust in the ground. Then I have traps. Then I have anchor chain with D or U locks, good quality ones, to attach the traps to. I have tent pegs for securing larger bait so the foxes don't run off with it. I have a trail to dig the holes, and very importantly, gloves to cover my hands. If you can't squat, if you've got dodgy knees and you want to sit on the ground, then also think about having like a chook bag or an animal food bag to kneel on. There are two optional items there that I find very handy: a trap setter to set the traps and a sieve to shake soil over the traps to keep all the chunky things off the top of the traps when you set them. When you are setting traps for shy, smart feral predators, you really need to ensure that you don't scent up the traps and the environment around where you're setting the traps. So wear gloves at all times when you handle the traps, and if you can't squat, then kneel on a livestock food bag or something similar. This is a close-up of an individual trap. The brown rusty coloured part is what you get in the mail, and then the rest is what I've attached. So I attach 8mm good quality chain, about 1/2 metre of it, to the trap, and I attach it to the trap using 2mm galvanised tie wire. You don't want the wire breaking and you don't want it rusting in the ground. And then I also add to the end of the chain another loop of 2mm galvanised tie wire doubled up, and that's what I attach to my anchor point. I'm just going to demo now how to set up just a single trap. There's my anchor chain that I'm attaching to a live, very sturdy little wattle. Make sure that whatever you attach your trap to could hold the weight of a boisterous Alsatian, for example. You do not want your trap disappearing off to your neighbour's place attached to their dog. Bad look. So I'm attaching it to a U-lock or a D-lock. Get a good quality one, don't get a cheap Chinese one. It's going to be out in the weather, so you don't want it rusting. You want to also be able to extract your trap from it after you've caught your beastie. Next, I clear off the leaf litter and the chunky bits and dig a hole that's about trap size. I'm a big fan of this sieve type thing. When that's full, that's about the right size hole for a single trap, and it's also very quick and easy to cover the trap with soil without any chunky bits so the trap closes properly. So you want not a deep hole, but you want to sit the trap so that when it's covered with about 1/2 centimetre worth of fluffy soil, it's sitting flush with the ground around it. You basically want to dig a hole just big enough for your trap to sit in. I'll do close-ups shortly so you can have a closer look. So I'm trying to dig a nice even hole there. There we go, that's pretty much done. Now I'm going to set the trap. There's two options. The trap, look at close up, see that little notch where that foot plate is? That's not, when you set it, you want to put that lever into the notch. But this is how to set it without a trap setter. Have some sturdy boots and open those springs up like so. And one of the trap sides is fixed and one flops around. That's set the foot pad now. And I'll just demo how it goes off. The weight goes onto that foot pad and it attaches. It doesn't attach to larger beasties like kangaroos. It comes straight off like my foot. I've got a trap setter as well that I find very convenient to set traps. It takes the risk out of getting your hand snapped. And it's very quick to use when you're doing large numbers of traps. all set. And that's just a close-up of how this trap setter works. It holds it in place, and see that's the lever that goes into that foot pad notch. All set. Now the next thing you do, put the trap in the hole, but immediately before you forget, make sure that you attach that trap chain to your anchor point. Don't leave it lying around so that you might forget to attach it. I always attach it first before I do anything else, as soon as I put the trap in the hole. Now, with the trap, I want to put the chain, angle of the trap, the foot pad facing the direction that you expect the animal to come, and I'll show you a close-up shortly. And I put the chain at the back of the trap. I bury it at the back of the trap, just at the other side of the far end of the trap. And usually make a bit of a deep hole. So I'm making there to coil up the excess chain like so, and the spring part of the trap chain. It's pretty bulky, so it's well hidden. Here's a close-up of how I've placed the trap in the hole. See how it's sitting nice and flat, and I'm imagining that the fox is going to come from the bottom corner and walk up towards that grey branch, and it's going to step on the trap before it then steps over that grey branch. I'm going to put the bait, some sardines, in between the trap and that grey branch so that it'll need to put its foot down and then reach over with its nose and collect the bait. Also see how I've tucked the chain into the back corner of the trap hole, so it's all tidily out of the way and will be covered up when I bury the trap. Next, you need to cover the foot pad with something that stops it from the underneath from being filled in with soil, because if there's not air beneath that foot pad, then when the animal steps on it, it won't release. So I use those really thin sandwich bags. I split them into two. I split them, all the seams, and I break them into two parts, and I find that that is a perfect shape and size, lightweight cover, kind of like a little tent over that foot pad, so that the soil doesn't go beneath the foot pad. There you go. So you want to tuck it in around the behind the jaws, so it's not over the jaws and flapping around and making noise. So now I strongly suggest you make a sieve of some sort yourself. You don't want any chunky bits, no rocks, no sticks over the trap, otherwise it will not close properly and your animal will get away. Make something yourself. You can do it with your hands, but that does take quite a while and a lot of patience. So there you go. Find the soil and make a bit of a mound over the trap, because you need to flatten it out and make a smooth surface that matches the ground. So I'm just getting all the chunky bits well away from the trap, making sure that they're not going to cause the trap to not set successfully. Now I'm just smoothing the mound over the trap with a trowel and figuring out where the foot pad is so I don't put my hand on it. Next, I'm setting the trap, so pushing around the jaws of the trap, not on the jaws of the trap, pushing the soil in around the trap so that it sits firmly and it doesn't rock if the animal puts its foot on the edge of the trap. So you seat it nice and firmly. If you put a little bit of pressure on the jaws of the trap, it's not going to go off. It's the foot pad that causes it to snap. So now I'm putting the chunky bits over the chain, the anchor chain, to hide that. Basically, the idea is you want to make it look like there is nothing there. I'm just going off to get some leaf litter. I'll show you this first. So that's how it looks close up. Setting the trap in, pushing all around the jaws. so that the trap isn't kind of unbalanced underneath the soil, that if the fox stands on an edge, it doesn't shift, because that will cause the fox to dash. There, that's how to set the trap. I've done it a fair bit, so I'm probably a bit more relaxed about how I put my hand, but you can use a trowel to do all that spreading as well. So this is leaf litter that I've got from nearby that I'm putting over the freshly dug soil to try and make it blend in a bit. I can't put the leaf litter, the chunky leaves and sticks, over the top of the trap because that would cause it to not go off properly. But I'm trying to hide it as best I can and putting chunky bits over that anchor chain. Now for this trap, I'm going to put some sardines as bait. Foxes do like sardines. I'm going to put the sardines right at the back there because I want the fox to step onto the trap from basically where my feet are, from that direction, walk to the back of where that stick is and step on the trap meanwhile. Just having a think about angles. Stop and have a think about angles, because angles are important with a trap, which direction and where that foot's going to go based on the animal size. So just a little bit of sardines, and you'll probably need to refresh it every 2-3 days because you want it to smell tasty. So here's a zoom in close up of my single trap set with sardine bait. I'm now just going to show you very quickly my sledgehammer approach to trapping foxes, using multiple traps around a delectable bait like roadkill rabbit. This is all going to be fast forward, so it doesn't take so long, but you've got the idea of how to set everything up. It's just multiple times the previous video clip. Now first things first, place the bait and dig the holes around, figure out where you're going to put the traps. Now peg the bait firmly to the ground so it can't be taken away by the fox. Set all the traps. I prefer to do them all as one batch. And then this is a closer look at the sieve that I use. You can make one yourself at home, or you can use your hands, but that's a fair bit of hard work using your hands. Now dig a hole, put the trap in. This is how to do the plastic bag thingy that I showed you in the previous clip. And that's just a reminder of how to set the plastic bag little tent up around the trap pad so the soil doesn't fall beneath the trap pad and prevent the trap from going off. As you see, the trap's just going to sit just below the surface there once the soil's all in. So I do mounds. I don't cover the traps fully until they're all done so I can actually see where they are. So I sieve a pile of soil around each trap, basically putting back the soil that I dug from each hole. Making another plastic tent with a foot pad of the trap, and final trap is going in. This looks like it's going to be a 4-trap set. Don't forget to anchor each of the traps before you cover them and forget. So I'm just covering the anchor chains up now and flattening out the soil and setting the traps so that that base is flush. Here's some leaf litter I've collected from nearby, and I'm going to sieve that over the traps to make it look as much as possible blending in with the environment. That's all set, and that should attract a fox within a few days once that rabbit gets smelling.
Now that you've installed your foot traps, you need to ensure that they're monitored responsibly. So that means that first thing in the morning when you get up, you need to go out and check your foot traps and release any non-target animals that you didn't intend to trap, and dispatch any target animals, feral predators, that you did intend to trap. The Pest Smart website has recommendations on how, for each state and territory, how each trapped type of animal should be dispatched responsibly and ethically. Generally, shooting is one of the options, or using a captive bolt gun, similar to shooting. So those are kind of the two best recommendations for ensuring that the animal doesn't suffer unnecessarily. The other key aspect is I cover my foot traps whenever they're set by day, because the feral predators that I'm targeting are generally out at night, but not during the day. And during the daytime, there's all sorts of local native animals like lizards and magpies and kookaburras that like to eat either carrion or carrion beetles and insects that hang around dead things that you might have around your trap. So I use this as a non-floppy galvanized mesh that's fine. So if a small foot lands on it, it actually spreads the weight across the whole trapping zone, and the traps won't go off and they won't trap feet. So I get up in the morning first thing and I check my traps, and then I cover it with something like this mesh, and then I come back in the evening after work before sundown or after sundown, whichever, and then I uncover the traps by night so that they're only active for the time that the animals that I'm after, the feral predators, are active also.
This short compilation of clips shows me covering my traps by day, this trap set. I really should be wearing gloves, but I did get a bit slack. So please do, when you set your traps, check them first thing in the morning as soon as you get up, and at least in the late afternoon and evening if they're uncovered, preferably more often than that. And even better, do cover your traps by day so you don't accidentally trap native animals such as this eastern rosella. In closing, those are just 2 examples of how you can set foot traps to trap feral predators, including foxes and cats. This is an image of one of the many foxes that I've trapped on my property over the last few years. I hope you all the best in your feral predator control endeavours.